Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux, and it's halfway through the year already, can you believe it? And 2023 has been a pretty solid year for movies. We've had some huge blockbusters that were the highest of their franchises in Creed 3 and Scream 6, and I believe Guardians of the Galaxy is approaching its heights. We've had some huge box office surprises, some of which will be on my list, but this is going to be my top 10 list of the movies so far released in 2023. Now, there are a few that I did not see. I really wanted to see Skinamarink earlier in the year. That was like a spooky new cheese horror movie that I just didn't get a chance to see. I also missed out on Suzume, a anime film that I hear is breathtaking, and Pathaan, which is an Indian film that I have access to finally, so I'm going to be watching that one shortly, and you'll get a review, but I hear really good things about that. So here is going to be my top 10, but first I'm just going to give you 3 honorable mentions. The first up is Peter Pan and Wendy. I quite liked that movie. It's a sweet reinvention of Peter Pan. I'm soft for Peter Pan. It's one of my favorite stories, and I like what they did with this. Ever Anderson, who is Mila Jovovich and Paul Anderson's daughter, is the star, and she is really quite good as Wendy. Super Mario Brother movie is all kinds of fun. Beautiful animation from top to bottom, and a song that you will never get out of your head. And then lastly, I'd like to, for my honorable mentions, mention Sick. This is Scream by way of the pandemic, with just a sprinkling of Friday the 13th, written by Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream. It's no surprise there that he is also developing the prequel to Friday the 13th. If this is an indication of what we're going to be getting, I'm on board. Alright, up first, I'm going to start with 10 and then work my way up. In the 10 spot is Flamin' Hot. This is a movie about how the Flamin' Hot Cheeto came to be. And it is a delightful little snack of a movie that, just like Flamin' Hot Cheetos, is a little spicy in that it isn't maybe wholly factual in how it presents, truth at all, but a delightful film nonetheless. It's light, it's funny, and it's poignant at times, and it's something that I really liked. Eva Longoria had a good vision for how the film should be, even if it's not, at all real. But there you have it. I really enjoyed Flamin' Hot. It's on Hulu. Check it out. In my number 9 spot is most people's number 1 that I've talked to, and that is Spiderman Across the Spider-Verse. Now, I hold this one back a little bit because it's an incomplete film, and I've been Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man Chested before, where the movie was kind of fine but becomes worse when you see the next installment. It's also similar to Back to the Future 2 or Matrix Reloaded, where it just simply ends. It has no conclusion. Themes are not wrapped up. Nothing is wrapped up. It ends in medias res, or I guess the next movie is going to start in medias res, and that just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I think that films like Avengers Endgame had its theme and it had its conclusion, even though it left off on a quote-unquote cliffhanger. The film felt complete. If the story had stopped there, it could have just stopped there. Yet we knew there was more to come because we'd been told that. And Spider-Verse, we have been told there's more to come. So maybe Beyond the Spider-Verse will reshape everything. As it stands now, it is one of my favorite movies of the year. It is just gorgeous. Literally the best looking animated movie that I've seen in the 2020s so far. It is great at character developing both Miles Morales, but especially Gwen Stacy, who has so much more to do, and her watercolor world is a thing of beauty. So Spider-Verse is a must-see, even if I'm a little hesitant about it as we speak. In my number 8 spot is Victim Suspect. This is a film you can see on Netflix that explores policing relationships with rape victims and how they turn a victim into a suspect of their own design. And it's a truly eye-opening film. Letterboxd is kind of down on it, as they tend to be with most female-driven stories. But this is an excellent documentary that I urge you to watch, regardless of politicization Words is a thing that I can't speak today. But moving on to number 7. This one I believe is on Amazon, and you should check it out. It is Air. I got to see it in the theater, and this is Ben Affleck's little movie about how the Air Jordan came to be. This is a nothing kind of story that shouldn't be nearly as interesting or captivating as it is, but it's Ben Affleck's craftsmanship as a filmmaker, as well as the entire cast that make this story absolutely soar. And this has the best use of foreshadowing montage I've ever seen in a movie. And I'll just lay that there. Ben Affleck's a gifted filmmaker. Check out Air. In my number 6 spot is Missing. This was the first theatrical film that I saw in 2023, and man, it hit a home run right off the bat. Missing is a soft spin-off to Searching, another film that I really quite loved. Check out Searching, but Missing follows the same format where everything is being told to you on the screen of a computer. And has exceptional editing. It has brilliant performances, and it plays out like a Dateline drama, a Dateline documentary, that you feel like this is absolutely real, and it captures the tone of those true crime stories in such a realistic way, and there are twists and turns abound. It's a great film. Check it out. In my number 5 spot is a divisive one, as the filmmaker is known to provide, and that is M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. This is a reinterpretation, or the book adaptation rather, of Cabin at the End of the World. And while it changes up sort of, that book, especially its ending, what we get here is really good. This is Shyamalan in top form. Might even be, and probably is, my actual favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie. It has exceptional performances. Dave Bautista gives an awards-worthy performance. Had this come out at the end of the year, I think we would be having that conversation. But he's going to get lost in the shuffle, as this film already seems to have been forgotten. But this is certainly Shyamalan's best film since Split, and I would argue this might even be my favorite film of M. Night Shyamalan. Check it out. In my number 4 spot is Evil Dead Rise. This is my favorite Evil Dead movie since the very first one. Sure, it's not as creative in its energy or storytelling as Evil Dead 2 is, and it's not funny like Army of Darkness, but this brings grounded horror that is visceral. It's gross, it's disgusting, and it is satisfying, just like that first Evil Dead film is. But this time, it is focused on characters. For the first time in an Evil Dead movie, it's not filled with characters that are just fodder for Ash to, slice through at some point. You care about every single person in this movie, so when they start turning into the Deadites, you get torn up. And it is a hard film to watch. You're filled with anguish. I can't remember a time that my stomach was squirming so much because I didn't want to have happen what was happening. This is true excellent filmmaking with some cheer-worthy moments, some tongue-in-cheek humor, and good callbacks to previous Evil Dead films. This is the best film in the franchise since the original Evil Dead. In my number 3 spot is a film I haven't talked about on my channel yet, and I'm super excited to talk about it. That is Past Lives. This is probably the best true art film on my list. It is a film that immerses you in a mood, and that mood is melancholy. It gets you to think back and reminisce about all the what-ifs of your own life, regardless of how you live your life. I live a perfectly happy life. I love my life. I wouldn't change anything. But this film kind of gets you thinking about all those what-ifs within it, or what could have beens. And it's just kind of genius, because the film plays out the same way. This is about two young people who are at the age of 10 or so are deeply in love, and they go on their very first date in Korea before the girl moves to the United States. They reconnect 12 years later and realize that there's still a spark there, but their lives have changed so much. And then they reconnect 12 more years later, so 24 years after their first date, and both of them have had relationships or are married, and they see that they still have that between them, but life is different, and it immerses you in a mood that has lingered with me every day since I've watched it. This is exceptional film, great acting, but it's the screenplay that I think should be nominated at the end of the year. This is a fantastic movie that I hope isn't forgotten as the year moves on. My number 2 spot is another movie that lingered with me long after I saw it, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This film is high-budget, blockbuster filmmaking that is truly a story about animal cruelty, with the MCU's first just genuine, disgusting, and vile villain, with no redeemable qualities. Excellently performed, by the way. But in seeing Rocket's story, you're immersed in his anguish and his trauma, and you understand where he comes from. This movie is so good because it reshapes the previous movies that have Rocket in it, both the Avenger, Infinity War, and Endgame, plus obviously the 2 other Guardians films. It is truly exceptional filmmaking that while I was watching it, I liked it, but I could not stop thinking about it. There's a single line of dialogue. It's Rocket's first word that he speaks when he learns to speak. And it's just something that has rattled around inside my brain ever since. The delivery on it, everything. It is pain, it is trauma, and this is a film that confronts that. This does excellent character work for everybody involved. This is a great story arc for Star-Lord, and writes out the Guardians in a fascinating and interesting and satisfying way. As dark and traumatic as this film is, this is the most optimistic film I've seen James Gunn make, and easily his best movie. This is the best of the Guardians of the Galaxy films, but this is better than anything else James Gunn has ever even touched. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 should not be dismissed just because it's a Marvel movie, or the 3rd installment of a silly franchise. Sure, it is all those things, but it also is great, and I don't think we should dismiss that. My number 1 movie, and I can't believe I'm saying it because who would have thought, is John Wick Chapter 4. The first John Wick is fun popcorn action movie fluff, and the second one is stunning action, and even better than the first movie. And the third movie is there too. But those 3 movies, as good as they are just like passable entertainment. A good time at the theater. John Wick Chapter 4 is the first movie in the franchise that feels like a movie. This is a soft reinterpretation of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and has a command to it. It is a strong movie. It has the best action. It is the best looking of the John Wick films. The lighting on this film is, I cannot stress enough how great it is, but it's every character that you really grow to appreciate. Even if they're being introduced for the very first time in this movie, I want to see more movies with them. And this movie should be the last John Wick movie. I know there's talk of a 5th one. I don't think they should make that. And I know there's spin-offs. Let them have their ballerinas and their Continental TV show and stuff like that. Sure, I'll watch those too. But this is a beautiful conclusion to a story that we didn't know we needed to see. And I love it. And for a 3-hour movie, it does not feel like it. It zips by in an instant, and that is the mark of good craftsmanship, of a good story unfolding, and my favorite movie of the year. So, to recap, my top 10 movies are: in the 10 spot, Flamin' Hot; in 9 spot, Spiderman Across the Spider-Verse; in number 8 spot, Victim, Suspect; in number 7 spot, Air; in number 6 spot, Missing; 5 is Knock at the Cabin, 4 is Evil Dead Rise, 3 is Past Lives, 2 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and 1 is John Wick Chapter 4. Let me know what you think of my list. What are your top movies of the year? And if there's a movie that I didn't talk about that you think I should, that I should see maybe, let me know what that is in the comments down below. I will give it a watch, and maybe it'll make my year-end list. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff.